I hope you're able to see this. I'm here to talk about a project which basically is trying to put together all the innovations, tools available today, and connecting it with actually the traditional scholar community to actually help them innovate, help all of us together innovate and and into actually relevant applications for the world. Okay, so that is the objective with which we have started a consortium of sorts or an initiative called E-Bharati.org. Okay, it is with collaboration from IIT Bombay, Kalidas Sanskrit University, led by our beloved Professor Varakhedi sir. And we also have a technology platform called Vedavapi.org, which provides the base for it, software base for it. And this project is generously supported by through infrastructure by Reliance Jio, and also through a grant from Indic Academy. Basically, I feel that now is a great time for young Sanskrit scholars. We are going through a very big shift from in Sanskrit study, the way Sanskrit studies happen. Because of several reasons, there is a huge surge in public interest in Bharatiya Vijnaan. And we are seeing that because bulk of our the students who come to our School of Vedic Sciences are those who have settled in life, young, and are middle-aged, and want to actually, the first thing that comes to their mind is, I want to learn about my own roots in a more scientific way. What is science about it? Okay. So there's a lot of public interest in this, and the government focus is also rising, and there is a lot of advancements in modern technologies for language processing, knowledge processing, and presenting things, mining for new insights, etc. In other contexts which have not yet been harnessed for Bharatiya Vijnaan, but the technology exists right now. Okay, and there is a lot of global demand surge for alternative approaches to addressing several issues. Leadership, corporate governance, wellness, to name a few. Okay, and these things, there is a lot of scope for innovation because it's a greenfield area. Basically, Indic knowledge systems, what is called Indic knowledge systems, is now slowly becoming a bigger, more popular word. It basically refers to the Shastric or scientific understanding that India offers in different disciplines. Okay, so that is in a layman's term what Indic knowledge system refers to. And because of all these trends, there is a good scope for young scholars to participate in ways other than what they have been used to till now, what we have been seeing till now. And why is it? First, as I mentioned, basically the focus on the Vijnana, the science aspect, as opposed to the literary aspect of Sanskrit. That is a big shift that is happening now. And the moment that happens, there is a lot of cross dialogue between different people who have been traditionally trained in modern systems, who are curious to know what is the equivalent in Indian system, and vice versa. So there's a lot of multidisciplinary curiosity in this area. And then the urge to make it relevant. It's there in everybody. It has been there for quite some time, but it has not yet materialized till now, except for a few situations here and there. But now there's a huge what you call pent up urge to do this, and that is a great time for shifting from what we call as preservation mode, where the Shastra or the in Sanskrit based knowledge is transmitted from generation to generation just for the sake of transmission and preservation, to actually transform it into something useful to the society. Okay, so that shift, the need for the shift is heavily being felt now, and that naturally, when something is useful, there will always be an enterprise or a company or some industry built around it, because industry is all about creating value for the society. So that will automatically happen. And the new trend, we all know, we are a direct witness to it: surge in online and on-demand education. Just to give you an idea, recently we have just launched one course called Discourse Analysis from Mimamsa perspective. And we thought it is only a few, traditional Mimamsa scholars who would be interested. But we were overwhelmed with, we were subscribed to almost 3 times what we could handle. And many of them are actually from very wide variety of backgrounds. And even though we put the restriction that that course will be taught only in Sanskrit, even then this kind of demand. So we have another two rounds of course to be able to run. That much demand is there. Okay, so, and the reason that is happening is because of online education, nothing else. Okay, and this transformation basically requires a lot of new thinking, lot of struggles. Energy is required, enthusiasm is required, and it's perfect for youth, is what I feel. Now, what does it imply? What all does this imply for scholars, Sanskrit scholars, both budding scholars as well as seasoned ones? Is that there are some new opportunities that have developed. One, of course, the online teaching is a big platform to disseminate Sanskrit knowledge to non-traditional seekers. Very important. Okay, and then there is another opportunity that is coming up to transform book-based knowledge into something that is digestible to those who are not familiar with the thinking process. So, and eventually towards application. So that I call as knowledge-based creation. And of course, bulk of our knowledge is still locked up in manuscripts, which are not even cataloged, many of them, right? So there's a lot of opportunity to use bulk employment, bulk lots and lots of people to be engaged in, from all the way from Talapatras to searchability and to knowledge bases, model building, so many things to transform it into value. Okay, and so those are all additional opportunities beyond what I can do when I study in some Sanskrit discipline other than teaching. So there's a lot of value creation engagements that are opening up now. Okay, and many people, many mainstream people who are excited about the prospects of some Sanskrit-based knowledge are coming up and suggesting, saying, why don't you use Mimamsa for jurisprudence? Why don't you use Nyaya for computer science? Etc., etc. Why don't you use Upanishads for psychology? But that is still at this time a wish. It's not yet transformed into actual knowledge. Okay, that's a huge opportunity right there. Okay. Now, so what does it take to do this transformation? Basically, we have a lot of codified but not easily accessible knowledge base in Sanskrit that has to be first converted into what I call as models. Models are basically representations of whatever reality that Shastra is actually expressing. Okay, and that representation is the first step towards utilization. Okay, so we need to transform these into usable models. And there is a lot of such examples across the board in our Indian system. And those models can be used for 2 different purposes. One, for artha, for transforming it into value, economic value, and things like that, through technology, services, etc. And also to change the thinking process of individuals to be more broader, more inclusive, more integral, taking care of a lot of different points of view, etc., and expand their outlook to for a more harmonious lifestyle. So this is a more of a personal social transformation route that also is possible through the same models. The same intellectual foundations of the Shastric knowledge can be used both for Artha and Dharma and Moksha. So both are possible. Okay, the base for both is the same thing. Okay, so this is very important because of the need for because of the huge gap that happened in our education system, which prevented us from directly consuming the knowledge, which used to be the case. So we need to kind of do some translation in the middle, is what to really scale up the whole impact. And so what is this Indic knowledge heritage? Basically, we have 10 plus, more than 10 million manuscripts. We have barely scratched the surface, and even those few are so useful, so found to be so valuable. And these are all in very inaccessible, difficult to access, and the number of scholars who are actually able to decipher those are also now coming down. So it's a very urgent thing. And each manuscript, if it takes about 1 year or so, how can you handle 10 million or so with the human effort, minimum manual effort? So it has to be technology driven. And the advantage is huge amount of impact in different modern disciplines. Now, so with this background, basically, we felt that we need to make India's heritage knowledge accessible for a wide variety of population, intelligible by conversion into something that is understandable to people and navigable, etc., and deployable. What is deployable knowledge? Deployable knowledge transformed into Shakti. Shakti in the sense of actual usage. Okay, so how do you do that? By transforming some statements into rule basis. Under this condition, this is what happens. That's what science is all about, right? Under these conditions, this is what is observed. Okay, when you know that how things behave, you can control them, and you can build useful technologies out of them. So to transform this, we need the deployability criteria. Now, imagine, suppose. So what does it all mean at the end of the day? Is when we say Bharatiya Vijnaan should come alive, what we mean is, suppose you had Adi Shankara right in front of you. Okay, he has written like 100 books plus. Okay, you have a specific question about a specific concept. Okay, is it possible to have a virtual version of Adi Shankara and ask that question so that he will digest whatever is known, whatever the knowledge repository, and give you an answer that is relevant to you in your current situation? So that is what a guru or that an acharya does. Okay, so what does it mean to have that kind of a interface? Okay, so that is what we mean by coming alive. Okay, so it's a huge meaning. It's a big vision. We don't know how much we will get there, but so to do that, what all do we have at hand? We have to see. Okay? And then once you have such a consultable knowledge base, which is contextualizable, where you can actually say, I can, based on who asks the question, it will give a different answer. Okay, that's very important. Okay? And then based on that kind of a thing, you can actually transform our texts into direct applications. Okay, can you create a Vastu compliance checker? Can you create an Ayurvedic, diagnostic assistant? Okay, can you say, does this robotic rules adhere to certain ethical principles? Unless you express what ethics means, how can a robot tell you whether it is robot answer that question? So it is all about representation. Okay? So and then this has to be there is a lot of ambiguity in this process naturally, and there has to be human element into it. But bulk of the manual labor of repetitive tasks can be taken over by machines. And while the scholars are still consulted for authenticity and accuracy. So how to build a blend of man and machine are a community and machine to be able to do these kinds of things. So that is a grand vision. We don't know how long will it take, but this is the, so in order to do this, first step is to first have whatever we have in hand available, right? So that is the first, so this is the overall pipeline that we are trying to build. We start with raw text, raw scanned books and whatnot, and we have several hurdles to cross. What are they? One, OCR, optical character recognition. This is the first step. And today the state of the art is for handwritten, it's not at all possible for Indic languages, very difficult. No two rules available. All printed Indian languages, Google can do very well. And there are several other tools also that are able to do it. Okay. But then bulk of our energy and effort in computational linguistics recently has gone from translating text into some grammatical analysis, linguistic analysis, sentence level analysis part of it. Then the next jump that needs to happen beyond that is, how do you transform an entire, see, a book is not just a bunch of sentences, right? The book is a discourse, it's a coherent thought. So how do you represent thought coherently, and how do you navigate around the book at that level, at the thought level, or at the conceptual level? So that is the next stage to which we have to bring. And fortunately, India's Shastra system is geared towards enabling such kind of things, okay, which we'll talk about. And then once you have such what I call as model, basically, once that model is available, then you can build your application. So this is the overall pipeline, and there has to be human in the loop at every stage in the pipeline, because there is so much ambiguity at every level. Okay, so to do these kinds of things, it is not possible for one institute or one organization to develop this whole thing. There is innovation happening everywhere. For instance, we have just seen like so many, like dozens and dozens of very useful tools developed at JNU, University of Hyderabad, India, France, etc., etc. Right? But if I want to build a larger application which uses these things for a larger purpose, there has to be orchestration, putting together together into larger wholes. So that requires standardization, interoperability, and ability to invoke things as subroutines at larger workflows, etc. So that is called system building, systems engineering, system building, and that is what we feel as the missing piece to actually take it to the next level, take Indic knowledge processing or Indic knowledge thing to the next level. And so that is what we are trying to attempt, okay, with this. So what are the possible applications that this can fuel? Once you have such a knowledge base, you can imagine basically, food what is the right food for me today? Okay, that's a very contextual question, because my prakriti constantly keeps changing, Ayurvedic prakriti, and the place where I am changes. Suppose I travel from here to the US, the type of food I should eat is different. Okay, so it is almost like a contextual query that I have to be able to answer, and I will not constantly have an Ayurvedic doctor right in front of me, right? So how to do these kind of things? That's just to fuel your imagination. That's all. Okay, and then similarly, health advice. I go to a temple. I want to know the Sthala Purana and what I have to do right there in my situation. Of course, Sthala Purana you can always read Google, but what to do, how to contextualize that to me right now. Okay? So there's a lot of that kind of work which requires a constant consultancy with a live or intelligent system. Okay, so that is, and agriculture is another area. Huge civilizational knowledge on how to do organic farming, how to take care of local ecological idiosyncrasies, etc. Right? So many applications can be built once you have such a base. And here is a final example of how to put it all together in the context of wellness. So we currently look at yoga, Ayurveda as two separate things, and they are highly interconnected. And any serious student of Ayurveda knows that unless he studies Nyaya, he or she studies Nyaya, Mimamsa, at least has basic familiarity of them, he cannot interpret the Ayurvedic text correctly. Okay, so there is a common thread of knowledge representation and reasoning that is employ all variety of Shastras. And they all look at the same reality, that is your human system, from slightly different perspectives, but not quite contradictory with each other. Okay, so they are complementary. But the problem today is the human wellness is treated from one perspective or one window or the other. Okay, there is Siddha, there is Tantra based interventions possible, there is Ayurvedic interventions possible, there are yoga interventions, even aesthetics is possibly an intervention technique for psychology. What kind of a movie you should watch to be able to get yourself from depression or overexcitement, so what kind of music you should listen to in what situation. Okay, so that there are and there is a shastric basis for these things. In order to, so when a problem occurs, which interventions should be employed and in what proportion, in what combination to actually help you, is an integral science. And that integration requires first studying these things independently and also seeing the commonalities. Okay, so that kind of this is a lot of traditional scholar oriented work. Okay, not computer science. Computer science can only simplify the process. That's all. Okay, so I'm just giving some examples of what kind of new traditional, new Shastric or Sanskrit based research is required or possible. Okay, and then what are the applications? Everything. Wellness is not just about getting out of illness. Even executive coaching is a wellness problem. Even corporate counseling is a wellness problem. Lifestyle consultancy is a wellness problem. So there are so many things to be done once you have this kind of a model. Okay, so but the base of all these things is what we have at the bottom, which is the fundamental understanding of what I am, what knowledge means, and what is the world and how do we interact. Okay, those are the fundamental sciences, and that's where Indic Shastric scholars can really add value. Okay, and to do these kinds of things, basically, we are developing a online, always available collection of Indic texts as the base, and so which we are basically developing a crowdsourced OCR mechanism to be able to transform these unsearchable scanned texts into searchable text, which can then be applied, taken forward with all your tools, linguistics, etc. Right? So and then on top of it, we will build these higher level stuff. So now, so what Indic knowledge systems and what Indic knowledge disciplines will help us in this process? So in overall understanding of what are the various knowledge disciplines, we can divide them into this the Triputi model, right? The Jnanam, Jnata, and Jnaya model. You can divide all your Indic or Bharatiya Shastra disciplines that deal directly with knowledge, its processing, its representation, and inference, etc., into a knowledge science, the knowledge sciences. You can call it that way. So they are the Pada Vakya Pramana Shastras, which have a lot of contribution to make in computer science. Okay, so and then the other areas are available, of course, the subject model and subject and object sciences. Now, with these, suppose you have, this is our base with which we start. So what does it take to transform this into applications? On the right is the models. Okay, and in order to build those models, we need to be the Nyaya students should learn how to think about the Nyaya from a slightly different perspective, from an application oriented perspective. Okay, so that is how can I use my Nyaya concept to study a Sahitya book? How do I use Nyaya for studying Ayurveda texts? Okay, or building models, etc. So that is very important work that is ahead of us. And what do we mean by models? So here is a bunch of examples in ethics, law, and governance. Okay, how do you codify law? That is a question. Okay, and there are some Indic examples from which we can start, and what are the categories in which you can define governance. Okay, what does a conflict mean? What does growth mean? What does harmony mean? okay, and things like that, right? So there's a lot that we have to reread our Shastras to be able to mine them for insights in these kinds of disciplines on the left. Okay, there are several like that. Panchakosha system for psychology, Chaturvarnya and ashramas for sociological discussions, and so on and so forth. Okay, and by having such models, what questions can you answer? So here is an example. Some personalized food is I gave you an example. Art as therapy, psychology. Will a person be able to fit a corporate role based on his or her prakriti and the requirement of the role, right? So those kinds of questions can be answered once you have the representation of the human as well as the system, right? So to do such things, we are building. This is the holy grail, the last level, which is, can we create a virtual Sishta? Sishta is an authoritative person whose answer is reliable, dependable. Okay, and Sishta is the virtual Sishta. It's a play on that word. So that will kind of digest the knowledge. Given a question, the person will digest the knowledge and consult whatever it takes, either the books or other people, and come up with something that is relevant to the question. So this is the one way in which we want to get to that end goal we want to achieve. Okay. Now, to do that, there is a lot of things. I don't want to go into that right now. Basically, you need to understand what knowledge representation means. So this is an area where Sanskrit-based thinking helps. So when people say Sanskrit is a great language for computers, okay, that's a very superficial statement. We need to kind of see what is it in the knowledge system, knowledge representation system embedded in Sanskrit that enables us to do these kinds of higher level things. So can we create a language for expressing such our type of questions or inferences using the precision that is offered in our Shastric lingo as our base. Okay, so that will enable us to do these kinds of things. Basically, there has to be a common, what the model that we are proposing here is that we need to have a common underlying meta ontology for describing things, which is based on Nyaya Vaiseshika, and then different disciplines will be kind of what you call as derived classes in the computer science terminology of expressing that the domain specific knowledge in that. Okay? And then the expression itself happens in some query language or knowledge level query language and things like that. It can even be converted into text speech once enough technologies become available. Okay, so to give you an example of what kind of a representation of books helps in digesting better. Like for instance, here is a Vyakhyana of the first shloka. Took it as an example. I don't want you to read it. It's very complicated. The idea is to show that to understand one concept, there is so much explanation, and that there is a lot of inner structure to this document that is not visible, obviously, when you are reading this thing, right? So suppose I represent it this way. Okay, so what is happening here is that the original shloka for which we are doing the Vyakhyana, that is the sentence 0 at the center here. Okay, and the 1, 2, 3, 11, 14 and 18 are the sentences that you need to read in order to understand directly what some of the words are used, whatever it is there in the shloka, in the Mangala shloka. Okay, not everything else. If you are satisfied with that, you are done. But if you want to know a little bit more about what the sentence 3 is saying, then you go deeper. Okay, this is called drill down view. Okay, and but the problem with today's text is that they are all scattered all over the place. So this is how it looks. It is the Vyakhyana goes in an order that is, we can call it as a depth first search model, wherein you just talk about a concept, you explain that concept, in that explanation something else comes up, you go deep, and then you come back and start somewhere else. Okay, so for a novice reader who is overwhelmed with the detail, he needs a different way of navigating the same book or same concepts. So this is like, for instance, if I don't want to know more about elaboration of sentence number 18, I can completely skip all these sentences and see the amount of summarization, reduction I'll get in my acceleration in my I get in my reading. So that is the idea of representing books as knowledge networks or sentence networks. Okay, that is what we call as a Shastra map. And to do this, we are using Tantra Yuktis, which is a very fundamental concept in our Shastra books, to be able to represent precisely sentences and how they relate in the overall discourse. And we are using Tantra Yuktis to link the sentences, and we are using Nyaya Sambandhas to create the to extract the concepts in the book. Okay, so for instance, I'm going to go into this. So here is an example of Vedanta Saara. It's a text that is available online also. Now, so here there is a concept called Shama Shama, etc. And then what are those Shama Adayaha? Okay, they are described in the book in different sentences. A Shastra map representation which explicitly makes the linkages between these concepts through the Avayava, Avayavi, Bhava, Guna, Guni, the standard Padartha Sambandhas, enables you to extract these kind of views from the raw text. Okay, that is what a Shastra map does. Okay, and then you can read that if you have a quick reference, need a quick reference to something, then you just directly click on it and you go to the concept, you read its definition and move on. Okay, so knowledge and reference at your fingertips. Okay, that is possible if you leverage Nyaya and Mimamsa principles for representing books in different ways. So that is an example I'm saying of how our Padavakya Pramana Shastras can be utilized today. Okay, and here is another example of. So the book has a lot of inherent hierarchical structure that becomes very explicit when you represent it in this. Now here is an Ashtanga Hrdaya section where a particular herb is being described and its properties are being delineated or explained one after another, and then sub-properties, sub-properties, etc. So they form these chains of discourse, chains of discussion that are happening. If you don't want to know too much, you just cut down and then go to the next one. That's it. So that kind of views are possible. You can create if I have a 1000-page book, can you please give me a 5-page summary of this book? You can ask such question and it will give you the answer immediately. Okay, so that's what we mean by this. And to do that, we are leveraging basically so many levels of sambandhas, adhikaranas and vyakhyana, tatparya level, and etc. to link sentences and concepts and sections and make their inherent structure explicit. So this is what we mean by an example of knowledge network representation. And this is possible today completely only manually because a computer tool cannot recognize what is the tantrikti utilized in this particular situation. So this is something only a Nyaya trained scholar can do today. And we have made it such that such training is possible for people through an online course. So we have done this kind of analysis representation for Ashtanga Hridayam, for Kavya Prakasha, for Tarka Sangraha, Vedanta, Saara, many of the popular books that are referred in our typical MA kind of things. So there's a lot more to be done, but we have done some examples. Okay. So, and what is the use of those things? Like this is what I mentioned, just a summary, drill down view of concepts, semantic search. Like give me all the Ayurvedic herbs with similar property to a given herb. That's a very complicated query. If you but if you have a Shastra map representation and the ontology captured properly, then any existing tools can answer that question. You don't need to invent a lot of stuff. So that is what the connection. That's how the human plus machine adds value. Okay, all right. And then now coming to how you can contribute. How you meaning the one who is already trained in Sanskrit and wants to do something innovative, new, okay, can contribute. So is that one, we over the last 2 years with Kalidas Sanskrit University, MIT School of Vedic Sciences, Indic Academy, there are several entities that have come together to start presenting how Indic knowledge should be looked at and applied to today's perspective, from today's viewpoint. Okay, so we have created these series of workshops or courses. One first thing we have done is recently, about 2 years ago, is this Shastric research methodology. What does research methodology look like from a Shastric or traditional Indian scientific perspective? What does pramana mean? What does it? How do you write a thesis? Okay, what is the question? Your fundamental question. What kind of yuktis you apply? Okay, can you leverage anything in from our existing systems to condense your description to a very compact way? Okay, without ambiguity. So a lot of discussion happened, and one of the outcomes of that was that tantra yuktis are a very powerful concept that can be used even in today's thesis writing also. Okay, and how to identify them? So tantra yuktis are basically sentence categories and relationship categories in a very scientific, highly scientific discourse used in Shastra texts. So how do you identify which tantra yukti was used? What are those various availabilities? We have a course for that. Okay, so this is an example. And then recently I mentioned about this discourse analysis from Imam Saara. That's another course. We are going to start another course on one recurring problem that we have found is that identify, even though you are traditionally trained in Nyaya and you know all the sambandhas, identifying them in a completely new text is a very hard problem. Very difficult, meaning it needs some training. It needs there's a lot of ambiguity. Is this or that? So many. Is it parent child or is it type subtype? There's a lot of confusion. So we are creating these training workshops to help people come up to speed, be able to do this knowledge conversion. Okay, and how to prepare concept maps like what I showed just now. Okay, and so this kind of questions, this is at the high level, and there's also a lot of, for instance, there's a lot of people who are approaching us saying we have a lot of Sharda Lipi books, we have a lot of old manuscripts, printed but out of print books, which we want to convert. So some of them are very precious. So we have a completely crowdsourced platform so that anybody sitting at your home or a cave can participate in the E-Bharati.org platform to be able to do these things. And we will, I'll just show you one example, demo that one of how to do that. And basically you can participate in any stage of the pipeline that I talked about, from raw text to scanned books to text to grammatical analysis, from analysis to sentence level, the Shabda Bodha, disambiguation, all manual. Okay, of course we'll use tools, but tools give 100 options. How do you remove them? How do you get to the right part? Right, that's where human input is required. So how to do these kinds of things at your own pace, at your own time, so that overall, if 1,000 people put their hands together, work becomes 1,000 times faster. So that is the model we are employing. Human in the loop at every stage, but augmented by the system. Okay, and that kind of thing. And of course, the next level is concept mapping, which is a little more involved and technically difficult, involved work. And that also we have training levels to do. And so there's a lot of exciting. So we are planning to take 5 granthas, top granthas in each of the 10 shastras, and then do the concept mapping, interlinking of those texts in the next 3 years. That's a big project where we want to go into Ashtanga, the Bhakyapadiyam, Jyotisha texts. What most popularly referred to Jyotisha texts are the different Shastra texts, and do this kind of work for them. And anybody with basically some enough analytical training skills, plus who can pass these courses with some level of proficiency, is eligible to this and to enter into this. And of course, text conversion is also available as either a volunteering or paid mode. Okay, and lastly, there is so many Indic models that need to be developed, as I mentioned, for contemporary disciplines. That is more of research work. And in our small little organization called School of Vedic Sciences at MIT, we have Nyaya experts, Mimamsa experts, Ayurveda, Sahitya, and it is fun to watch all of them work together and discover what they have actually not discovered before, even after like years of reading the same book. Okay, a different way of looking at the same things that they already know before. So many instances have happened, and it is very, very enriching. That is, believe me. So that is the, so it's a good thing to participate in. And so to summarize, basically, the India's intellectual tradition was the bedrock on which uh, the sustained development that India sought for millennia stood. And without that intellectual tradition, mere practice cannot sustain for long. Okay, and there are several examples of that. Okay, so Shastra is very important, practice is also very important, and these two together will actually generate power, Shakti. Okay, that's what is the main thing. And in order to do that, in order to accomplish that, we need, especially we have to approach Indic knowledge in a slightly different way, and we see that our own Shastras can be leveraged in computer science um, to advantage, and that's knowledge sciences, etc. And we need skill development oriented education. And an example of what we mean by skill development I gave you here once in a while. And so the E-Bharati platform pulls together such, makes it easy for that kind of collaboration to happen. And if you want to join as a volunteer, we have, please visit ebharati.org, register. There is a register button. Please join. Tell us what you know, what you can offer. And one last thing I want to do is show an example of what we have. Okay? So here is an example of, so this is ebharati.org website. And so here is how we can take any book from anywhere on the web, like, archive.org, your UPenn, anywhere, and then apply OCR using whatever tools, latest tools are available. If not, we'll type whatever it is. Okay, and then do the proof correction online. This thing is available live for anybody. Okay, so you don't need to install any software. Using your laptop and web browser, you can do it from your own home. And you do this conversion, and then basically you can see the books in this format. So this is how the final OCR output looks like, and you can add some meta tags to be able to convert it into a nice representation. And you can run your Samsadhani or linguistic analysis tools to see all the vibhaktis, whatever word level analysis on any selected text. So for instance, you click on this thing and it will show you on the left the morphological analysis output. And this tool is not what we developed. We are just a integrator. We are using existing tools. We can even incorporate, for instance, if Girishnath Jhaji's tool set to be able to apply to this problem. Okay, and then you can also see the original text that that is highlighted. What the original Sharda Lipi text looks like here. So this is how the original one looks like on the bottom for this, and it is in Devanagari version is this. Okay, and this is actually being actively used for machine learning. So we have a huge machine learning engine running in the background to learn from what you type and automatically use it for OCR future. Okay, so everything that is being done is being logged and learned from. So tomorrow you won't be surprised to automatically, if a tool says this is actually this Tantra Yukti, because it has learned from 100 examples of how to identify Nidarshana and whatever, those kinds of things. So it is ML at the bottom and human in the loop and incrementally learning. That is the platform we have. Okay? And this is available for both handwritten and so this is an example of a handwritten text, and the bottom shows the corresponding output. So today, if a tool cannot do it, human can do it. And once the human does the first 5 pages, the tool will take over and automatically convert. And then you will go correct it and it will learn from that. So that is the model. Okay. All right. So with that, I stop now and open for questions. Thank you.
राजीव, लोगों को अनम्यूट कर सकते हैं, कुछ लोग यदि करना चाहते हैं तो करने दीजिए. So anybody wants to ask any question?
अरे यार थोड़े दिन के लिए कुछ जाना जाना नहीं होगा, डायरेक्ट जून तक सब कुछ बंद है.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sai. Any questions? I think people are asking questions. I think when we made them all of them unmute, it's a huge noise is coming. I think it's very difficult to manage. Better, I think we will take the questions offline.
Sure.
किसी ग्रंथ को डिजिटाइज करने में कितना समय लगेगा और व्यय कितना लगेगा? Any if they want to digitize and get the different text version of the text,
right,
how much it costs?
Okay. How much time it will take? Or
not only time, costing also.
Costing also. Okay. Yeah. So basically we have seen that if you want to, if you're taking a well done OCR, which is 90+% accuracy, just to verify whether all the words are okay, for a page of, let's say, 30 lines each, 25 lines, let's say, takes about 20 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes. 30 minutes is what it takes per page. Okay. And then if the more the errors, the longer it takes. And we are basically having mechanisms to how to speed it up, etc. But that is the typical thing. And then whatever we can, so we engage people who, like you, if you are interested in proofreading or doing this kind of work, you can join us. And
as an IIS student, how can I do this with the website? With this website, can I join as an IIS student and work with you?
Yes. Yes, anybody can join. We have a login access with access control, and we'll give permission. We have multiple libraries. Each library has multiple books, and we will assign you to one book or library, whatever it is, and you will have
which type of technical skills are needed to work with E-Bharati?
So there are several layers of skills that we can leverage. And I just give you one example. 1 second.
But they need not worry, actually. No, it's a very easy job, and only Shastric knowledge is required, and the training can be done. Training can be given.
Training can be done anytime. So these are the kinds of jobs that we can get into right now. Manuscript deciphering, grammar editing, Shabda Bodha, concept mapping. The concept mapping requires some of that training in the Tantra Yuktis and Nyaya Sambandhas. But otherwise, it is just, if you know Sanskrit language properly, that's pretty good to get started.
And even there, people can work for their editing. If somebody is editing for the research work, PhD, they can come here and work using this system, right?
Yes, within system. Yes, actually we recommend that many of our PhD students are taking up concept mapping as their initial project, so that they will know their own text deeper, their own whatever they are going to research on in a much deeper way, because it will force them to think very rigorously about that, and that they will leverage later.
So somebody is asking about Vakyapadiya. I don't know. I want to listen about Vakyapadiyam.
Yeah. So Vakyapadiyam is a very big treatise, and what we have seen is that typically only the first one, the Brahmakanda and a little bit of Vakyakanda, is studied, but because of the volume of the text, the Padakanda is typically not touched by junior scholars. So to help at least people get a gist of what it is about, we are creating a concept map of Vakyapadiyam. So you can participate also.
Latika Chowda wants to participate in this project using Raghava Naishadhiyam. She is interested.
Okay.
She has sent her email.
I request you, anybody who is interested to work on any of these things, to first register on ebharati.org and mention your interests there. so that we can follow up with you. It's available as a link. Parikshanam is
So-
also online. Yes, Parikshanam is also online.